subscribe to Nooganomics.com. That's Nooganomics.com, the website of which I'm the editor. And also, do me a favor, David Tulis, do me a favor of liking us on Facebook. That's Facebook at Nooga Radio. We love to be liked, and it's a minor indicator of our listening audience. And I'm thankful to you, my listener, for giving me just a few minutes of your time. Just a few minutes is all I ask of you, because I think if you just have a sample of what we get into, you'll be maybe just a little bit better off afterwards than you would have been before. There is a great fault in the Earth. It's called the New Madrid seismic zone, or the New Madrid fault line in the Memphis area. And I was thinking this morning about that, and is a way to imagine the evoking of the Tennessee anti-gouging statute, which takes effect whenever there is an emergency or a declared emergency. So if we have, and the reason I thought about that fault is there was last night when I went to say goodnight to my mother, which I do always around 9:30 or 10, earlier the better if I can just get organized. I go in, I show myself in, and there she is watching television or listening to the radio or reading the Wall Street Journal or the Times Free Press, and which she'll read and reread, and will just enjoy rereading things, all new, right? When you're 93 years old and you read the paper, everything is new every day, and it's just wonderful to have that gift, right? So she was watching television, and there was a story about landslides and how the Swiss have a mountain peak that had already fallen once into a valley, had that whole mountainside under a very steep mountainside under observation scientifically, measuring the increase in the gaps behind the fall zone, measuring the increase in those gaps, and having microscopic measurements by radar and other infrared and other means. And the one scene showed in a year how much the face of one part of that mountaintop, an open earth, right, just an open gusher of dirt all the way down to the valley, how it had moved. And so the scientists who were observing the geological shiftings enhanced by rain and slowed when the ground dries, were able to make a very accurate assessment of when the mountain was going to slide. In fact, when they made it, the closer to the collapse, the quicker, the easier it is to make that determination, right? So you have to keep a constant watch on the movement, and then they predicted it's going to fall, and so there was video running when the mountain collapsed down the side. No one was hurt. The roadway, the highway beneath it had been blocked. Not even a car was damaged. No building was damaged. Though when you're up on that mountaintop looking down into that valley, you think, oh man, anything that comes from up here has to hit all those houses and churches and squares and apartment buildings in the valley below. But let's just say that the New Madrid Fault were also studied carefully by the U.S. Geological Survey, and they were able to make a prediction of a coming temblor, right? Well, if that were to happen, you would have a warning made and a state of emergency declared. The closer to the event, of course, the more certain of the date and the time, assuming that the Swiss science transfers over to the observation from satellite imagery of the movements of the plates, right? That would be the cause of the earthquake. Well, there would be then an invoking of the statute for pricing, and because a disaster is ahead, right? And that's what's happening right now in Florida with Irma approaching. I have a son in Sarasota doing computer consulting, security consulting. A young man who earns more at age 22 than I earned as an editor at the newspaper where I worked for 25 years, nearly 25 years on the copy desk. He's earning more than I left that job with in my early 50s. And so he's an expert who's flown around at a very young age to handle computer problems and security problems in insurance offices and other medical offices around the country. Just an average guy, an average geek, I guess you could say. And so I've been thinking about the whole need to understand how prices work. Prices are a means of communication. You have to understand that when you run a business and set a price for something, you're saying that this is low enough to win business and yet high enough for you to cover all your costs and anticipate a profit, right? The prices generally work. You generally have business, and when prices are too high, business falls off. When prices are too low, you get too many orders and you can't fill them. So you have constant mechanism there of knowing how to price things. It is a way of saying what should happen, right? So when you have the Federal Reserve System, for example, for the past decade, artificially suppressing the price of credit, you have, of course, a large demand for credit. And we are at the end of a bubble. We are at a very brittle point in the national economy. And I suggest there's a major collapse in the equities ahead and a major seizing up of the credit markets because of all the bad debt that's been created in the suppression of the rate of interest. So in other words, if there's a ceiling for prices or a floor for prices, you're going to have problems in the marketplace. You're going to have misallocation. You're going to have what's called malinvestment by people in the real estate area. We are seeing a boom right now, and that is because we're seeing a great deal of malinvestment. People are building retail buildings and shops and little shopping malls, thinking that the drunken party in credit will continue forever, and of course it won't. And at that point, there'll be collapse of these facilities when people can't pay the note because the income from retail sales and rents is not going to be sufficient to make the payments, and you face a disaster. That's a disaster, and I say it's just ahead. Okay, of course. I say that in mega political terms, not in short-term analysis. And I don't give investment advice, so don't count it as that. Okay, this is David Tulis, and the guru of local economy here at Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and FM 92.7, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. On YouTube, it's Hot News Talk Radio, and on Facebook, we are at Nooga Radio. And on your smartphone, just get the TuneIn Radio app and just keep us as your favorite station, and you can hear us even if you are past our powerful amplified modulation signal or our FM signal as well. Prices tell what things are worth, and if you have an intervention in the pricing system, you have effectively a snipping of the communication line between producers and sellers, and that's happening all across Texas. It did. And it's happening right now as we speak in Florida, in every retail store, especially those that have things that are of high value right now. And many, because we don't have a free market, we have shortages sort of by design. They're by design, and that means that people who really need something can't get it because people were able to buy goods that for which there was a limit on the supply. They were able to buy those goods without really needing them, right? They could buy them at the artificially low price, the price that's kept there by the law. The anti-gouging law says you cannot raise prices for gasoline, for bottled water, for bread, and other essentials, some of which are enumerated in the law, or which are enumerated in the law. You cannot buy them, batteries, flashlights. These are things that are under the regulations. So a flashlight that in an emergency would sell for $30 or $40, you have to sell for 11. Okay, or if it's a mag light or a high quality light like that, which is ordinarily $30, it needs to be going for 110. Sorry, you can't sell it for what it's really worth. You have to sell it there, keep it on the shelf with the price marked as the pre-earthquake, the pre-hurricane price of $30. And that ceiling, right? That ceiling by statute is an intervention in the marketplace. And because we believe in local economy and think that local economy is the best place in which to sort out what something is worth, you're going to have an injection into that marketplace, an irrationality. It is irrational. And in the end, all state-run, all state-controlled, all top-down economic systems, all centralized, governmental-run, cartelized economic systems are irrational. They're irrational because in the end, there's no way you can know what anything is worth. And in fact, you could see at certain points before the collapse of the Soviet Union, you could see how irrational it was, where factory owners would just make up numbers as to what they had coming in with money, what their needs were, what they had going out in the way of paying for supplies, you couldn't really know anything. It was just total. All the numbers were just gibberish. They were completely inauthentic. They were not based in reality, and they were just dress numbers, right? Numbers that you create in your spreadsheets to show somebody and to show some official with a badge on. This is what we're doing, and it looks okay. Go ahead. That's what you have. You have an irrational system. And if we are human beings made in God's image, we are not designed to be irrational. We're not designed to be irrational. We are designed to be, I should say, rational. And that means we are to use our minds. And of course, the Christian would say, for God's glory, right? For God's glory, arranging things that are right and letting people who need something get it and not preventing them from getting it, right? And that's what the marketplace does by pricing. All right, let's say we're here in Hickson, and we have a pending earthquake, and we have an emergency circumstance, and we go over to the Walmart on Highway 153, and we find that there are controls suddenly on things that are in the statute. Now, I don't have those items in front of me, but let's just say it would be bottled water. Okay, that's an essential. Whenever there's a disaster, when water mains are broken, supplies are interrupted. You can't run lights. You can't things like fuel for camping lamps, that kind of thing. Those things are suddenly gone. Florida right now you can't buy anything in Florida anymore because the supply has been insufficient, and the supply has been insufficient because people won't take things down there. Well, why won't they? Why are there shortages of bottled water in Florida? Why are there shortages of batteries? Why are there shortages of paper towels? Well, there's a shortage everywhere in the general marketplace because people can't make a profit by taking things there. So they'll only go so far in upping the supply. They won't go out of their way. There's no heroic efforts to supply Florida or Texas. To do so is irrational. It's irrational. If I'm here in Chattanooga, there's an earthquake coming from the New Madrid Fault. And we know there's an earthquake going to happen in the next few days, and everybody's getting ready. Okay, so, well, if let's say the Walmart has only so many cases of bottled water left. Let's say it's there's been a rush to buy those things, and it can't raise the price. Well, let's say the manager, the whole area where bottled water had been stored initially, is gone, and there's just four or five cases, or maybe I say reams of it. I'm not sure how it's presented. Let's say a case of it left, and well, if you're charging, if it's a $10, let's say the price is up to $10, okay, without there being an offense to the statute, and it really needs to go for $50. Well, let's say that I go in and I have 4 children, and if it's $10, I'll just say, well, I'm being cautious, I'm being prudent, I'm being rational. I'm going to go ahead and buy all 4 of these. It's just $40. But if a case is worth, let's say, $75 or $100, which is probably where it needs to be, I will say, well, okay, I would buy it at $25 where I'd seen it earlier when I'd been in the store, but now it's $100. I think I'll wait. I'll just buy one. I do need to have one. And so my calculations suddenly are much more realistic than if it's at an artificial price, right? If it's $25 per case, even that's, of course, pretty high from what it goes for now. But from now it's $4, right? $4 or $5 now. But let's say it did go up, and it's where it needs to be. The buyer at the real price will buy one, right? I'll buy one, and I'll walk out of the store with my case of water. Now, coming in after me is a man with 5 children, okay? And if it's artificially priced, he'll do the same. He'll buy the 3 that are left at the old price, right, at the non-realistic price. But if it's priced at $100, well, he'll buy 1 or he'll buy 2, and he'll afford it. He'll be glad to spend the money, right? If you need it, you'll be glad to spend the money. You're glad that it's available, right? You don't care what the money doesn't mean anything to you in an emergency. It doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't go anywhere, right? What goes somewhere are those supplies, the food and the water, the shelter, the things that are essential. And so a high price guarantees resupply. And that's another point. If Walmart runs out, or your local supplier runs out, If he can sell at a high price, then resupply is much more certain. Why? Because people will come in from far away and say, I can resupply you. Suddenly, the high price brings supply. And that's why high prices are important. And if you have an artificially low price, you don't have resupply. The resupply efforts are feeble and routine. And what needs to happen whenever there's an emergency, whether it's an earthquake in Chattanooga from vibrations coming from over in Memphis or Hurricane Irma, high price brings supply. It brings heroic efforts. It becomes rational to have a heroic effort, to stop what you're doing and say, you know, I'm gonna rent a truck. I'm gonna rent a 30-foot, a 25-foot straight body truck. I'm gonna fill it with water bottles and batteries, which I'm buying up here at the regular price, right, up here in Chattanooga. And I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna see what I can do to sell them. Well, if you're doing it as a private person, you probably have a lot going for you. If you're doing it as a corporation, maybe you're under the ban. But you see what happens? You drop what you're doing now to resupply heroically the market down there, in which you can make a profit, right? Selling $100 cases of water is making a profit, and you're not gonna do anything if you can't make a profit, right? You have no reason to do anything. The marketplace is not giving you the proper signal that you have to hear to do something, right? With which to do something heroic in favor of people in Florida who don't have enough water or other supplies. So higher prices call in supplies. If I'll come in from 10 hours away. I'll come in from 15 hours away with supplies if I can make a profit. But if I can't, if there's a ban on my communicating with that marketplace, I'm just going to stay here and just do my routine things. I'm not going to leave Chattanooga unless, of course, it's for charitable reasons. I'm not going to leave here leave Chattanooga entrepreneurially to help Texas or Florida if I can't make the profit, right? The profit has to be there. High prices invite supply. And so high prices are always a signal. Hey, we need help. Hey, marketplace down here. Hey, take advantage of us, right? Take advantage of us now. Bring what you've got. We need help. That's what disasters bring. They bring a call for supply, a call to end the shortage that is created by higher demand, right? Demand rises as the storm nears. Demand rises as the predicted earthquake for Chattanooga sends rumblings through society and through the marketplace. Why, if there's no incentive by higher price, why would anybody store up? If I ran a store on a coastal highway in Florida, why? And we know the ban is here, and the bans go into effect early. The statutes reach, I think they reach backward in time to say, okay, you can't have done that from going back in time. These may be illegally retroactive statutes. I don't think I'm not sure about that now that I'm thinking about it, but they might. I read the statute a while back, and it may actually do that. But laying that aside, why would I, if I run a store on a coastal highway in Florida, why would I store up? Because why would I make preparations to have a whole warehouse full of bottled water and batteries and rolls of toilet paper and lumber for the boarding up process? Why would I do that if I can't charge more, right? People who are in the normal supply chain will not bulk up if they can't make a profit. They simply won't, right? Because the signal to do so is not allowed, right? We can't have that. We can't have plywood boards to cover your doors and windows with. We can't sell that beyond X% of the normal price. Therefore, we're not allowing that to happen. And so the state is the enemy of the people. The state is the enemy of preparations. The state government, state legislators, Republican Party, Democrat Party. These are the parties that are against this communication process. And we're not allowing the allocation of resources, right? If you have prices giving the signal, you'll have always a proper allocation. You'll have less supply if there's less demand. You'll have more supply if there's more demand. The price is the signal. Price is the signal that lets the gas station decide how people come to its pumps. If the man can't sell gas for more than $3, then everybody's going to come in and top it off, right? People fleeing Florida, are they going to top off the tank? Well, we've got half a tank left. We can get more up the highway. Yeah, but look, it's only $3. Well, let's just get in line. It's only an hour wait. Let's just get in line and top it off. We don't know what's going to happen, right? So if it's artificially low at $3, you'll have a line and everybody's going to want to just top off. People are so concerned and so worried that that's what they think they have to do. It's a rational thing to top it off at $3 a gallon. Well, if the price at the pump is $15 a gallon, which is probably where it needs to be, $15 or $20 a gallon, the lines will be much shorter. And who will be in that line? Only the people who are just about to go out, right? They're the ones who are going to pay. They're desperate. They'll pay it. They'll be glad to pay it. They'll be glad to pay $20 a gallon. They'll be glad to pay $200 to fill up a sedan. Why? Because they're desperate and they need it. The high price selects out from all the people passing that gas station who comes in to get gas. And the ones who are half full, they're going to pass by. Well, we can wait on that. We got our tank will take us another 120 miles. We'll be well inland, and there won't be a problem inland. And so if the gas station can rightly and freely raise the price as local economy dictates, right? The local economy, the local situation, the free market in that town on that coast in Florida dictates the price needs to be $15. That motorist with half a tank will pass by. It will not. The traveler will not stop to top it off. Price is signal. Price is valuable information. And again, we have the state interfering. The state is the enemy. The state is the enemy. The state is the enemy. I want you, my listener, to think about that. And I want you to have confidence in an alternative. An alternative, of course, would be God. Have confidence in God. Have confidence in what he says in the scriptures about how things work. And let us not have our hand on the scale. That's what the state is doing. The state is the liar. The state is the prevaricator. The state is making false statements about the marketplace. The state is saying gas can't be more than $3 a gallon in these circumstances, and you can only raise your price X percent above it, and you can't charge what something's worth. The state has its hand on the scale. And we know that that's a sin. That violates the 8th commandment. The 8th commandment is not stealing. The state is also violating the commandment against bearing false witness, and that is the 9th commandment. The false witness is, well, it's wrong, it's a sin, it's a crime, it's an evil thing, it's a misdemeanor or a felony to raise the price of gas to $20 a gallon in a crisis. No, it's not. No, it's not. And state governments, Tennessee included, Republicans and Democrats in Tennessee included, have participated in this lie against local economy, the free market in Florida and Tennessee. And guess whom you have to thank for? You, my listener, have the Republicans to thank for in this state and the Democrats in this state to thank for. And they are going to put you in a pinch. At some point, these people in their governments are going to put you in a pinch. We need to have a free market that respects the individual, respects the family, respects the entrepreneur, and lets people communicate, lets people talk back and forth. Officials are preventing producers and consumers from talking with one another and saying what something's worth. How dare they? How dare they? City governments, county governments, state governments, they all conspire as against you. They're trying to make you look bad. These laws make you look like an evildoer, a prevaricator, a liar. And it's them. They are the ones who are doing it. They're the ones who are lying. I want you not to have confidence in them. I want you to have confidence in God and have confidence in common people just like you. Have confidence in common people just like you, and we'll have a free market someday. Someday. David Tulis.
Hurricane Harvey has ravaged Houston, and